It didn't take long for Reach to fall. Our enemy was ruthless, efficient, but they weren't nearly fast enough. For you had already passed the torch. And because of you, we found Halo, unlocked its secrets, shattered our enemy's resolve. Our victory, your victory, was so close. I wish you could have lived to see it. But you belong to Reach. Your body, your armor, all burned and turned to glass. Everything, except your courage. That you gave to us. And with it, we can rebuild.
With the release of Halo Reach onto the Master Chief Collection due to hit PC and Xbox One in just under a week, I wanted to jump back into Halo Reach and look at narrative that was going on in the background if, as a player, you were astute enough to go looking for it. Hello my freaky darlings and welcome back to Installation 00. How you guys liking the new logo? Got some mixed responses on Discord, but overwhelmingly positive on Twitter and on the community tab recently. Drop your thoughts in the comments, as well as popping over to Discord and Twitter and whatever other platforms you use, and give us a little like there. Links are down below. Tickle that little like button here too if you feel the video deserves it, but before you can do that I need to actually give you the video. Moving on!
So today we're looking at the Reach Datapads.
Sorry, I've got no idea what happened there. So anyway, today we're looking at the Reach Datapads, the assembly, and the subtle mysteries of the Haloverse. Let's get into it. The Datapads are small handheld devices that can be found scattered around various levels of Halo Reach. Each one contains an excerpt from a larger narrative, and details events and meetings held by the assembly, and can be accessed simply by picking the devices up, as Noble 6 does throughout his time on Reach. The assembly was a clandestine group of human artificial intelligences referring to themselves as minds. The purpose of the assembly was to regulate the activities of artificial intelligences, as well as analyse and extrapolate data for the continued survival of the human race. It appears that the assembly remained secret from most humans, though some of their recorded sessions were discovered by an unknown individual. The assembly consisted of two parties, the majority and the minority. The majority appeared to support indirect action, while the minority was in favour of acting directly for the betterment of humans. There is evidence to suggest that the assembly saw themselves as the shepherds of the human flock. However, the central argument of this issue was whether they could be part of the human empire and still remain unbiased judges of human society. The assembly also contained the Committee of Minds for Security, a group responsible for ensuring the security of humanity from extrasolar alien races. The assembly is known to have been active from at least 2310 to 2552. Exactly what means the assembly used to achieve its ends are not known. It is known, however, that they influenced many crucial events in human history more or less directly. In 2310, as humanity was beginning its era of interstellar colonization, the assembly acknowledged the likelihood of the existence of hostile alien civilizations and decided on modelling first contact scenarios. They continued the discussion in 2362 and decided to base the first contact scenarios on the assumption that the extraterrestrial intelligences were hostile and technologically superior to humanity, as in the case that they were benevolent or non-spacefaring, they would pose no threat. In 2381, because they considered humans to be reluctant to accept outside influences or ideas, the majority suggested that the assembly should manipulate humanity in secret, making the assembly's ideas appear to them as their own. In 2415, 48452-556-EPN644 of the Committee of Minds for Security presented the idea that the members occasionally separate from the assembly and submit themselves for vivisection by the humans for the benefit of both groups, with the intent of being the first himself. The discussion continued in 2491 when the minority noted that 48452-556-EPN644's submission to the Unicom would spark a new interest to the Orion project, which they wanted to present as a viable solution to the Carver findings. Later in the same year, the Assembly discussed the recently discovered evidence of extraterrestrial intelligences found on Onyx, and decided that they must exclude the planet from colonization candidates to prevent the humans from accessing the advanced technology until they were ready for it. In 2508, the Assembly discussed the Orion program and its shortcomings, concluded that the project was just the beginning of something larger, referring to the second, third, and fourth generation Spartan programs. After first contact with the Covenant in 2525, the Assembly held a tribunal for one of its members who had apparently tried to contact the rising alien threat, making it indirectly responsible for the Human Covenant War. In the same year, they discussed the Spartan 2 program and how it managed to reach operational capacity a year before the insurrection expanded beyond control. Predictably, the Assembly rejected the idea of luck being a key factor. After the Covenant assault on Biko in 2526, the Assembly analysed the Covenant's orbital bombardment capabilities. While they concluded they were not able to glass an entire planet, they coined the term glassing in an attempt to heighten the severity of their fleet's capabilities. They also decided on the redistribution of human forces, namely the Spartans and the Marine Corps' orbital drop shock troopers. Later, they discussed the possibility of a Covenant counterpart to the Assembly and the possibility of contacting it and turning it to their side. In 2528, the minority made a decision to sacrifice remote, low-population colonies in order to determine the Covenant's pattern of operation and design effective countermeasures. In 2530, the Assembly discussed the losses in the war so far, as well as the possibility of re-terraforming glassed worlds. To prevent human extinction, they also decided that they must be more open with their actions. Upon the discovery of Entron Harbourage in February 2531, the Assembly noted the presence of a third participant mentioned in the Covenant's battle network, one which caused irrational terror for the Covenant. Due to the risks involved, however, they decided not to contact this unknown variable. In 2535, acknowledging the technological inferiority of the humans, they discussed fully exposing themselves to their creators and becoming active participants in the war. Years later, the Assembly began to consider the possibility of the humans losing and became concerned of their own fate. After Dr. Catherine Halsey experimented on building an AI housing fractal within slipspace in 2547, the Assembly considered the possibility of moving into such a construct and escape the physical world altogether. Debate also grew over whether or not this would actually count as victory if they failed in their goal of shepherding humanity. The Assembly underwent a radical shift in 2552 after the neural patterns of Master Chief John 117 and Cortana were successfully connected via the Spartan neural interface. For the Assembly, the first neural linkage between a human being and an AI meant their kind had been remade as one with their creators. For them, this also meant that they had been drafted to serve as active participants in the war. The entire Assembly had finally been convinced to work together with the humans instead of operating as an independent entity. They decided to no longer act as shepherds to their creators, but become their equal companions in a process that would take years to implement and require the participation of both parties. The entire body agreed to this decision with no need for voting. As of 2558, Catalogue assessed the nature and history of the Assembly, noting that the logs retrieved by Noble Six during the fall of Reach were of questionable reliability, which is code for 343 Industries are likely considering retconning the whole thing, rendering its influence and ramifications on the law null and void. I sincerely hope they choose not to, because Halo needs a little mystery to it. It is what defines Halo. Before, it was the Forerunners, shrouded in mystery. Now we know about them, it's ancient humanity that are the mysterious ones, plus the suggestion of other advanced civilizations that have come across the Halos at one time or another. The Assembly are another example of deep lore which is interesting and engaging and adds depth and perspective to the universe. An absence of these would leave the Halo universe being a one-track story with very little depth. So, don't retcon it, 343.
Please.
Another interesting aspect of the datapads is the voices that can be heard during activation and the transition of the datapads. In similar fashion to the terminals in Halo 3, these voices also speak in the reverse English that we've heard in the Halo 3 terminals. Whether this suggests Forerunner influence is difficult to say, but what is interesting is what the voices say. I take no credit for these findings, as the person who ripped the audio and reversed it, and then listened through and transcribed the audio, is another YouTube channel called Anything Halo. So thanks to him for reaching out to me. Link to his channel is in the description if you want to go and watch his source material for the Datapads. So here is the rip directly from the corrected audio, thereby removing the reverse and cleaning up the interference.
Rogue confirmed. Breach identified. Corruption contained. Purge initiated. Protocols reinstated. Daemon running. Scouring arrays. Searching. Researching. Referencing. Prioritizing. Cross-referencing. Culling data. Gathering sources. Welcome, Scion. Lineage confirmed.
My particular interest here are the last two datapad entries where the voice states "Welcome Scion" and "Lineage confirmed." The word scion has two definitions, one being a young shoot of a plant used for grafting or rooting, and the other being a descendant of a notable family. Was the voice unexpectedly speaking out to Noble Six when he accessed it and referencing him as descendant of a notable family? If so, this suggests that the AI in question knows of Noble Six and perhaps his bloodline. Or in the same breath, it could be simply that the AI recognises that he is a Spartan, and thus views being a Spartan as being of notable descent. Indeed, even the first definition, being a young shoot used for rooting, could be in reference to Spartans being the first of a long lineage of a new type of human where man and machine are fused into a single being or entity, which again bears striking resemblance to the comments made in regards to how Chief and Cortana mark a new, more active role for the Assembly in human endeavour going forward. The last comment, being that of lineage confirmed, may again be in reference to what we've just discussed, as recognising a Spartan, or even be the beginnings of recognition of a Gesh or lineage back to ancient humanity. But if this is the case, then the voice has been waiting for someone like Noble Six. If that is the case, then the person who originally discovered this information and left it scattered across Reach for someone to find was simply a tool to them. At the top of every datapad there is a typed insert from whomever it was who found this information. Allow me to read just those inserts from every datapad in order. They are killing us and letting us die even though they know, but they let us die. Why? 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 I know what they are trying to do, and it terrifies me because I know they know that I know. I can hear them all the time now, but I just want to sleep. It's been so long since they've let me sleep. Every time I try to tell somebody, the words catch in my throat because I'm all alone except for them, and if I talk, they might leave, but I can't stay quiet forever. When I first got here and woke from stasis, the ship was crawling with colonists from dead worlds. It was so crowded I couldn't move. I had to fight to breathe. Now you see they want to help, but they don't want us to see them doing it because they are afraid of what we might do. I hope you're finding these because they are very important. Maybe you can help me spread the truth. They don't have hearts or souls, but they know what we want and what we need. But they don't love us. How can you love without a heart or soul? We have to tell people what's going on because it's not right. They should be our friends, not gods or demons. I've been trying to find a back door into the spook house forever and ever, and then I did, but what did I find, and why is this what I found? It's all just math to them, not with numbers but with symbols that change when you look at them because they want them to. Sometimes they look at the symbols and sometimes they look at the numbers, and sometimes they look at both and sometimes they look at neither, but it always makes them change, and the changes are real. They say that they want to help, but they only say it to themselves. Don't we have a say in our salvation? I think they wait for you to talk, and they talk about you talking, and when you talk it makes the symbols change. I tried talking to them today, but they wouldn't answer, even though I hear them on the BNet, and I can hear them listening, but they still don't talk to me. If you talk about the numbers and symbols, they know that you are talking, and they make the whole world change. The symbols describe a path that goes on forever, but now I know how close we came to the end, and if anything keeps me awake and sweating and screaming, it is this. They have always been our shepherds. Even when they disagree, they have been watching over us forever and probably always will. Now you know all I know, even though I don't know where I'm going except to sleep, because the path goes on forever. End quote. I will at some stage come back to this and just look at this narrative in more detail, but the mystery surrounding this individual, who they are, and how evidently tortured they are by the discovery is palpable. What I do find interesting is that they reference that they found this information by looking for a backdoor into the spook house. Spook house is likely to be slang for the Office of Naval Intelligence, and from there, the inserts become ever more paranoid that they're being watched or listened to. The symbols and numbers change based upon what they're saying, which leaves us with two possible eventualities. One, this is actually the assembly working covertly through the Office of Naval Intelligence and the BNet, likely without ONI even being aware of it, and thus this poor individual is simply a conduit to get this information out to a source that could spread the information further, legitimizing the voice welcoming the scion and confirming their lineage, thereby confirming that an appropriate source or vendor had been found in Noble 6. Or 2, this is actually the Office of Naval Intelligence doing what they do best, and using misinformation and complex layers of lies and deceit to manipulate the person who wrote these inserts, for motivations currently unclear. If this is the case, I pity the soul who currently has their attention and wonder if they're now finding sleep in the Midnight Facility. But alas, that in itself is another mystery which adds a narrative depth and a feeling of activity and life to the Halo universe. Like there are multiple interacting and cross-influencing events that are keeping the larger narrative of the universe moving forward. I reference now a blog by Haruspis. Link to his site and the particular post are also in the description. In it, he expressed the following sentiment in summary. The Assembly has an established and emotionally complex relationship with humanity. They care for the humans, they love them, but were scared of what humans might do if they knew of their existence. They have been actively guiding humanity for centuries, masking some of their ideas as our own. But don't we get a say? Don't we get agency in our species' progress? Even if we get it wrong. They represent the next step of human evolution, but not the final step. What does that mean? What might the galaxy look like with that fulfilled? The Master Chief and Cortana are representative of that, which is another way Bungie subtly tied this into the series more broadly, as this is the last we hear of the Assembly in the Datapads. After the successful merging of man and machine, the Assembly realise that they are no longer stewards, but companions to their creators, and so the majority and minority are dissolved, becoming whole. Here we have a series of open questions and anxieties that have been in the lore for almost 9 years, regarding a step forward in the Halo universe with the nature of artificial intelligence. We see that this doesn't just boil down to AI's directed humanity's development for X, Y, and Z. The framing device of this unknown character is itself asking questions of this story, which is a point I see a lot of people miss. It's all there, waiting to be used. The ongoing narrative of reclamation and potentially the deeper mysteries of our past. Where the created is something that was received as having come out of nowhere in Halo 5, leaving both casual and long-term fans perplexed due to its lack of precedence or setup in the games and peripheral fiction, the ideas surrounding the Assembly are entirely cohesive with what 343 has built up over the years. Perhaps these questions are better left for the people who seek them out to consider without imposing any answers. But the trappings of this universe are a fascinating playground to tell stories which examine these anxieties and grapple with more complex questions. This is, after all, a series which aspires to do more than just tell a story where you shoot aliens. Halo does explore the deeper questions raised by science fiction as a genre, and it has turned up more unique stories from it than many are perhaps inclined to give it credit for. While this is not the only thing on the to-do list on that score, Halo faces increasingly complex questions about the nature of AI in its setting. Halo 4 did an incredible job of exploring that from the angle of death. The Assembly, conversely, deals more with what AIs choose to do with life." End quote. I couldn't agree more with the sentiment here. The Datapads, the Assembly, and all of the other little unsolved mysteries of the Halo universe add such an immense level of depth and intrigue into the universe, and keeps it from being a one-track gunplay shoot the aliens kind of game, and instead implies and hints to a living universe with dozens of stories and personal journeys and horror stories and moments of glory and even just normal lives coexisting even while the larger, more grandiose space opera type events unfold. So when you get a chance to get into Reach, take a moment to look around, hunt a little bit, because you might just find a new mystery to engage and consume you. Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below. I look forward to what you have to say. I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons, so Tenchi the Silent Cartographer, Brian, Sebastian, Define Alpha 117, Nathan, Red Sea and Darian, the holders of the mantle, Ty, Black Biscuit, J Rabbit, Austin, Kaiser and Silex, my reclaimers, Zach, Deep Cover, Verbal Statue, Specigo, Spartan A498, Guppy, Josh, Mickey and Bastion, my Metox, and all the other patrons that have jumped aboard to support the channel. You guys are awesome, and all this wouldn't be possible without you. Another shout out to Anything Halo for the Datapad audio, be sure to pop over to his channel, and to Haruspis for his sensational articles on Halo lore and his sentiments regarding the mysteries of the Assembly. Be sure to pop over to his site and have a read up as well, but be prepared to be reading for a while. If you like Halo lore discussed to insane levels of detail, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you're told the second a new video hits the shelves. Be sure to support us on all major social media channels, including Discord, and if you really love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon and supporting the channel over there. It would mean the world to me and would free up more of my time for me to put into this content and other Halo related goodness. Take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.